Um, During the hurricane, we had plenty of notice. We were in St. Martin on Simpson Bay, which is a 3-mile bay, directly on the ocean in a 4-story, very well-built condominium. We had internet right up until the first signs of the really heavy winds. And of course, we lost the internet, lost power, lost water, lost our generator, everything. Our unit is in the first floor of the building, and the building manager and also the manager of our condominium said it might be best to use the unit above us, as friends of ours who were not there, because we were a little bit worried about storm surge, and they were predicting a couple of feet into those units. So we moved upstairs, and when the storm actually hit, I should say, first of all, it was very fortunate that our units have these Israeli-made doors. They're steel doors that lock like a bank vault. They have bolts that go in every direction. So they were not able to be blown down, although some of them were damaged severely and even dented by the wind. Anyway, when the storm finally hit, of course, we have all our storm shutters down, no way of looking outside except through a little peephole in the door. And we could hear roofs being blown off. We could hear furniture flying out of windows. We could hear a lot of damage, a lot of noise. And then in the middle of when the eye came through, we were able to go out and briefly and shovel water out of the doors, because the storm, the winds were at that point up to 185 miles an hour. And they were blowing water through these steel shut doors. It was like raining within the condominium. So we were able to squeegee water out and save our friend's condo, literally, during the eye. And then when the back end hit, the back end was on the beach side. This was on the road side, the entry side, the first part. The back end was on the beach side. And we did have an open bathroom window in the back of the condominium. We were actually able to see the storm surge. It was incredible. Waves were at least 40 feet high, coming over our seawall, into our pool, and all over the grounds. We saw all of our beautiful palm trees blown down. We saw furniture flying out of windows. The building is a very solidly well-built building, but it seems that the first 2 floors were the most benefited, because there is a concrete wall around the building. So those first 2 floors didn't hurt that bad, but the 3rd and 4th floor were just about decimated. One unit had 3 of their 10-foot sliders absolutely blown out, blown right out. Furniture was blown out of these condos, and some of the furniture was found inside cars that were parked in the lot. So after the hurricane passed, Irma passed, we're able to try to pick things up and move debris and everything else. We were getting ready for Jose. And at that point, we were told Jose was going to be a 4. Now, Irma was a 5, and I think was the strongest ever experienced on the island, because 1995, Luis was a 4, and that decimated, especially the French side, which again got decimated, being the north side of the island got hit the worst. So anyway, we picked up as much as we could, but again, we had no infrastructure. And it was a sort of I almost want to say a survivor party atmosphere afterward. They were alive. And we were able to access a barbecue grill. We all had food about to go bad, so we ate like kings for 3 days at least, breakfast and dinner. We had chicken and fish and bacon and eggs and nice fresh coffee. We opened the little Keurig pods and dumped them in the filters and made coffee, and plenty of wine. The unfortunate thing, I ran out of tequila about then, but I still had plenty of cigars, so I was okay. So we had a few days of kind of calm, and then when Jose was pretty much past, we were feeling pretty good. But then reports came in from around the island. Some of our friends that were in our building that lived there, we're there like 4 months a year. had ventured out to other parts of the island, were reporting tremendous looting and anarchy, really. And one person had a store that was an electronics store, and they told us that they literally had to sit in their car and watch the looters leaving their store with everything they owned. They did not leave even a stapler. 2 nights ago, we heard gunshots. That's when we really started getting worried, because having no arms to defend ourselves, I had a table leg, and that was about all I had. And so we started really getting worried because we were now running out of food. We had plenty of bottled water, so that was okay. But again, our generator, we have a wonderful generator that kicks in after 15 minutes of a power outage, but we had to turn that off because the seawater coming in the generator. Then when we thought we could solve that, we found out the generator 500-gallon tank was empty. It had been filled before the storm. So literally during the night, looters came and pumped it out. Diesel fuel being, probably $8 a gallon, 500 gallons is a fair amount of money. So that's when we really started getting nervous. I called the U.S. Embassy. What island, Mick? Barbados. The U.S. Embassy serves all the islands on Barbados. I was able to get through, thank God for the iPhone. And they said that the Air Force was going to be evacuating us. A very good friend in our building who lives there and owns a restaurant on the island called Buccaneer. His name is Bernard Foury, and his wife Jill and their family had already gotten out. But Bernard, being the dedicated guy that he is, stayed to try to help various people in our building as well as the rest of the island, being an island guy with his restaurant, a delightful person and a real hero in my estimation. He woke us up the morning we evacuated yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning. We were staying in yet a third condo, so he had to search for us. Finally found us, went inside, and he said, "You have 5 minutes. There's an airplane. There's going to be airplanes at the airport. You got to get out now. Do not look for anything. Pack your passport, money, whatever you have, electronics. Get out now." Now, most of our stuff, non-essential stuff, was in our own condo on the first floor. So we didn't even go there. So all our clothes are really there, and this is all we really have left, So we got out within 5 or 10 minutes, and he drove us to the airport and got us. We were right up in the front of the line, though we didn't know it at the time. We had a 7-hour wait till, I guess the first couple of planes come in were Dutch. And then you guys came in. We're so happy to see that. What a sight. But the airport people were wonderful. They were passing out water. They gave us Winair passed out umbrellas because it was bright sun. And they took care of babies and women and whatever first. They all did the right things. And one of our neighbors, former neighbors, had just moved. And she had a 2-month-old baby and I think a 6-year-old boy. And her husband is part of the infrastructure here, who was head of the Simpson Bay Lagoon or whatever it is. So he stayed, and she was in tears the whole 7 hours, as well as the whole time on the plane. The Air Force was kind enough to give her a seat with her baby and her son right up front, one of those nice seats, while we were relegated to sitting on the floor on our knees. It was a wonderful experience just to be getting out. But so anyway, we got out, and thanks to the Air Force and thanks to the professionalism of those people, men and women on the plane, we couldn't be more grateful. It just it was an incredible experience. We really were getting quite scared for our lives with the vandalism and the looting was getting to an alarming extent. We heard gunshots one night, and so that's pretty much it. Insofar as witnessing the storm and going through a Category 5 hurricane, I have nothing to compare it to. It was being a veteran of some sorts. I wasn't that. My wife, being an ex-airline hostess for American, she's unflappable. She never batted an eyelash, never worried about a thing. And when we were huddled during the height of the storm, it was almost a surreal experience. You thought you were going to die, but you kind of figured, well, what the hell? And, we're in our 70s, pretty good life, And now on the other side, as you asked, the feeling of being out and on St. Maarten and having a shower and a good meal and a good breakfast and talking with you guys last night, hooking up with my old Air Force buddies and stuff, it's indescribable. It's like winning the lottery. It's just indescribable. But, we got there, as I said, around 7 o'clock. We were pretty much in the head of the line on the U.S. side. They had a Dutch side and a U.S. side. And just as an aside, the poor gentleman behind me waited those whole 7 hours. He had actually stayed in our building in one of the top units, and he was a Swiss citizen. For some reason, no other governments were represented, and the poor guy spent the whole 7 hours there to be told by the U.S. Embassy people, hey, we got to take Americans out first. Of course, you have to respond to your government. He said, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get out. I've been trying for 2 days now. So, and he was an older guy and not in great shape, and I felt very bad for him. But the process was very well regulated. We had our line. We could sit down on our bags. We had umbrellas to protect us. And we'd see various military units, both Dutch, French, American, finally some Dutch Marines, or a lot of Dutch Marines. I've never seen such big guys in my life. And finally some Dutch police were coming out armed with H&K automatic weapons. And they were actually walking out on foot, I think to start branching out into the neighborhoods. That was pretty impressive. I mean, they were armed to the teeth. So I think maybe they were taking some steps to provide for the looting. I was told some looters were arrested, but we don't know much more. But the process was very orderly. The Dutch Marines, every one of them spoke English. They were pretty much the on-scene control agents, and they were passing up and down our line, pretty long line, 300 or 400 people in it, and giving us updates in English, telling us what's going on, giving us water, being very kind and supportive, and many people asking questions like crazy, of course. And then toward the end of the 7-hour wait, then finally the embassy people arrived, of course, had to take their turns, but the other 2 aircraft had been gone. Of course, the runway, there is no taxiway or parking area, so only one plane can come in and take off at one time. So, and it's a long process to load and unload. So, finally, when our plane came, the embassy people came out, U.S. military people came out, and the embassy people were excellent. They came along the line, had their checklists and documents to give us. I had called the embassy, we were already on the list, and so they made sure the process worked really well in terms of knowing who was there, who was on the plane, who got off the plane. So, and all the questions were answered, and I think nothing was left to, chance. Everything was very, very well orchestrated, and I was proud of our government. Being sort of an insider, I know what we do. I signed on and wrote a blank check to the government up to and including my life, just like you guys do. So I kind of know, but anybody not knowing or not having familiarity with the military, and particularly the Air Force, because of my favorite branch, you can't imagine the dedication of these people. You can't imagine the help they provide. It's hard to describe. The pride of being an American, the pride of knowing that, hey, you're getting out, and we got your back. It's something I can't describe. Yeah.